Welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV, where today we're going to be covering the last of the regular dungeons in the game, Pharos Sirius. Now this dungeon has a bit of a reputation for itself as being one of the more difficult dungeons to run, and this is not without good reason. And for that purpose, despite that it's suggested that you go in with the same item level as the previous two dungeons, I'm actually going to suggest much higher than that. Despite that you get item level 60 rewards, I'm going to suggest that you go in with an average item level of at least 60. More, if at all possible. I'm going in with what I have been going in with, which is a fair amount of everything. I'm getting a lot further into endgame. I'm going to suggest going in with an item level of at least 60. Preferably 70. But with that, let's go ahead and wait up and see what happens. The queue is up, let's hop on in. Now, despite popular opinion, I actually rather enjoy this dungeon, but how well you do in it does depend a great deal on the group of people that you're partying with. Personally, I didn't have the greatest group this time. But you're greeted with a cutscene. May want to skip because we've all got things to do. And of course, we're sneaking into Pharos Sirius. We're going to start by going up from the sewers. So let everybody buff up, say your hellos, and off we go to tackle the first of few enemies we're going to be running into. Now, these are just the sewers, so we're not running into anything too special. Random enemies here. A pug pugil and two leeches. The pugil and the leeches don't really do anything too big of note, at least that you wouldn't expect of them. They do hit notably hard, though. This dungeon isn't here to fudge around, so do be careful. Pugil down, that leaves only the two leeches. I haven't yet to see them do any kind of special attacks or special abilities you'd have to worry about dodging, so I would worry about just beating on them straight out. If I had to guess, I'd say the Pugil probably has a conal AoE, and the leeches probably have an AoE around them. Now, wandering the hallways back and forth is also this big guy, who's a little bit bigger, a little bit less to be trifled with, but still nothing too big to note of. He has a conal AoE you saw right there, but that's about it. That'll do it for the first hall. Turn the corner and you will see two more leeches, and one of the Urganites, whatever, I don't know how to pronounce them. Don't know how to say them. Which we've encountered those before. We actually saw some in Copperbell mines. They're also just roaming about in the world. Overall, again, nothing too terrible here to worry about. So, beat them all down, take care of the two leeches, take care of the other thing. Also add that, depending on the tank you have, they may want to number the enemies and determine who you're going to attack first. Our tank wasn't numbering anything, and it seemed like we were having an easy enough time with them, so we were just kind of having a free-for-all. Attack whatever you attack, kill whatever you kill. See another one of the big guys from before roaming about up here. So I'm going to let the tank go up and pull hate, then I'm going to try to shoulder tackle right into a tube there. But we've seen that before, so finish him off and move on. Now, on top of a treasure coffer being there with nothing much of note inside, you'll see two enemies spawn. The two zombie sailors who are under the Siren's control. Now these two, once again, aren't a huge threat. No bigger a threat than anything else. I haven't seen them really do anything too notable. So beat them down as you beat them down. I've honestly never had much trouble with these guys. As you did see there, though, they do have a directional AoE, but again, eh. Okay, now we're out of the sewers, and we can move up into Pharos Sirius proper. Going to be seeing a lot more of those zombies, as well as a lot more of the golden crystal infused tainted enemies. Now you will notice another sailor in the back there, a barber with the large orbs on his back. He is your first priority to kill. I don't remember exactly what it is he does. I've killed him before he's done anything, but he is your first priority to kill. Once he's dead, then you can go back to worrying about the sailors. And the door opens to the first boss. Now, this first boss is not to be trifled with. He's much harder than what you would expect, especially for being a first boss. So, don't be afraid if you die a couple times. Okay, now that the tank and the white mage are done arguing with each other over where the white mage should stand, let's actually do this for reals this time. Now, the biggest threat in this fight is not actually Simon the Unsinkable himself. The biggest threat are actually the dogs that spawn. Now, the boss himself does have a directional AoE to worry about, but it's not too hard to dodge. Again, the biggest threat here are the hounds that spawn. And that's because the hounds have an AoE that they can essentially place wherever they feel, and this can very easily stack on each other, so you can have 2, 3 of them do this AoE on you at a time. And whereas getting hit by one isn't a big deal, getting hit by 2, 3, 4 is. So you'll want the DPS, of course, to go take them down as fast as physically possible. Now, one thing the white mage was debating about and arguing with us about was the white mage wanted to stand further away so the dogs weren't all beating on everybody at once. Now, this is completely understandable, but it does make it a lot harder for the DPS, especially here, where both our DPS are monks, to get to the hounds. And in turn, the white mage is mostly going to be soloing them. So what you're going to want to do is spread out. Dodging their AoE is almost impossible. You can see the red mark from it, but it's almost an insta-cast. So you just have to make sure to kill them as fast as possible. Now, of note, I think, don't quote me on this, I think the hounds actually spawn as you do damage to the boss. So if you're having trouble dealing with too many hounds at once, don't do as much damage to the boss. Now, something else you'll notice that happens is partway through the fight, large crystals will fall from the ceiling and leave these large marks on the floor. After the initial impact, the marks will grow, which will greatly limit the amount of space that you have to move and make it much, much harder to dodge the dogs. So once again, take care of the dogs as fast as possible, and try to spread out as much as you can. I know it's not easy, especially given what little space you have. Now we've got 3 hounds spawning this time around. Oh, Also, the AoE, you're just seeing him... We killed him, so you didn't actually see it go off. But you saw a really large AoE come out of the boss. That is stunnable. So keep that in mind. So with that done, we can move on. You can see some crap fall down from the ceiling. A boot spawns. The boot is a ghost-type enemy. He's a mage, I'm sure. But overall, I haven't seen him do anything too horrific. He's casting Paralyze. So beat him down and then take out the other two zombies. Now, of note, if you look at the arena, you've seen things crash down in the middle of the room. Personally, I would have liked to wait, but everybody else decided to run straight through the room, and you can hear something else crash down behind us. So just be wary of that. Now, there's a corrupted sprite here. We'll be seeing plenty more of these as time goes on. Again, just as before, from a DPS perspective, I haven't seen much of anything that they do that's too terribly dangerous. I see him casting a number of spells on the tank, which means it's probably something that the healer or tank would have to deal with. Now, if you look directly ahead, you can see a small chest in the room. I'm pretty sure that chest contains an accessory, an item level 60 accessory. You have to clear out that room in order to get to it, though. We don't need it, so we skipped it. However, as soon as you come back right over here, you'll see 3 more zombies show up. Kill the barber first, then kill the remaining 2 sailors. There was a chest just off to the corner with an item in it. The tank is just going to run right up the stairs and get hit by everything. And then we're going to get to this small landing, and the tank's just going to keep running. Why? Get back here, you idiot. So a couple corrupted slimes will spawn. There's the tank. Bringing 2 more down with it. So a couple corrupted slime spawn. There's 5 in total. They go down easily enough. And as usual, I haven't seen them do anything too terrible. So just beat them down as you can and do what you gotta do. Okay, now that they're done, we all want to go up the stairs, rush up the stairs so you don't get hit by the thing. Don't go too far up, because you don't want to tick off the sprite there before the tank actually gets up there. And take down the sprite just like anything else. Ready to go up the stairs again? Of course, we didn't wait, so we're just going to kind of get crapped on by the ceiling there. Now, from here, you can go left or right. If you go left, you can see there's a couple enemies over there, and there's a treasure chest a bit further on. I was assuming we were going to skip it. I just wanted to show you where it was, but if the tank wants to kill everything over there, then okay. There's not too much over here we haven't seen already. There's a boot, which we've already fought one of. A sprite will wander around from around the corner. And then there are 2 drifting souls. These drifting souls are mages, as we've seen before, but they still go down simple enough. Now somebody decided to run up around the corner, probably I think it was the white mage, and open the actual chest. The drifting soul is done. You can see the chest right there. The item that was inside was an item level 60 ring. So it's going to be more accessories. That's an entirely skippable part of this dungeon, though, if you don't want to go there. Now, just at the end, we once again encounter the 3 zombies. Kill the barber first, then kill the sailors. That'll open up the gate and let us go upstairs to the next floor. Now you see a couple birds, but of note is right there in front of that opening, after somebody triggers it, anyway. A large bird will fly in and pound the ground and then fly off again. I hung back because I knew it was coming, didn't want to get hit by it. If you run forward far enough, you will also not get hit by it. Since the tank ran in first, I didn't want to risk it. Also wanted to show you guys that it actually is a thing that happens instead of just running by it. But there's two birds here. They're birds. Kill them, and we can then move on to the second boss. Now, the second boss is the same bird that we just saw fly in. He's right over there. Now, the most important thing about this fight is egg management. There will be a large number of eggs surrounding the outside of the room, so I'm discussing whether or not I'm going to take care of the eggs or the other monk is going to take care of the eggs, because this is important to have settled and figured out. As the fight goes on, they will threaten to hatch, and you need one and only one egg to be broken. And apparently the tank decided that he wasn't going to let me finish talking. So we don't know who's handling the eggs now. I volunteered for it at the end, so I assumed somebody had figured it out. The boss himself doesn't do anything too terrifying. It's mostly the egg management that is actually a problem. You see there, an egg is threatening to hatch. Well, I was going to go over and take care of that one, but I guess the white mage is handling egg management. Well, that's pretty fantastic. Thank you very much. When the eggs threaten to hatch, you want to break one and only one egg. If you break more than one, the boss will get some additional stacks on him. That will mean the boss just kind of starts wrecking you. He doesn't really like that you break his eggs. But the eggs that you don't break will hatch into small adds like the one you saw there. So you do want to break at least one egg, so that's one less add you have to deal with. When you break an egg, see, now I'm looking around, I find the two of them, and I figure maybe the white mage is going to handle it again, since he was so willing to do it last time. No, wasn't going to handle it that time. So now we have two adds that we have to deal with. There's two different kinds. There's this one, and then the pullet, which is the one that's across the room. When you break an egg, if at all possible, you want to break an egg with spots on it, because the spotted eggs will hatch into these, which will wreck you and are a real pain in the butt to kill. You saw I even had to use second wind there to not die to it. So if at all possible, you want as few of those to hatch as possible. I would have broken that one if we had figured out what the crap was going on. So I figure, okay, the white mage isn't doing it now. I'll break an egg. Now the boss has decided just to fly around, so there's not too much we can do until he comes down. The other one hatches. In fact, two eggs now hatch. The number of eggs that hatch, that threaten to hatch, each round does increase, so we've got 3 hatching now. Killing the pullet first, because kind of getting tired of dealing with the other one's crap. And the pullet should go down a bit easier. You can see it's still taking a while for us to kill these things. The other monk is over there handling the other one. So I'll go over and help with that. If we can kill these off, we can then get back on beating up the boss, who decided to fly again. So that's pretty fantastic. Any day now. You can fly down anytime now, so we can hit you. Okay, get a little more beating in on the boss. Thank goodness. We've managed to handle the egg so far, despite none of us knowing what the crap is going on. So one can only be thankful. Oh hey, the egg's threatening to hatch again, and now the tank decided to break an egg. I hate all of you. You know that, right? I just hate all of you. Okay, somehow we won. So we can move on to the third stretch of Pharos Sirius. Heaven help me, I think this other monk is the only intelligent person here. Now this is a short section. You see an aether valve. Your first priority, if you get close to one, is to turn it off. I don't care if you're fighting an enemy, I don't care if you think that enemy needs to be killed, you turn that valve off if you can get to one. Now that first valve, I think, was sending aether mist up the stairs, so with that turned off, we can now go up the stairs without too much worry. There's another sprite here, so we can take care of that one real quick. And then there is a corrupted pudding. The corrupted pudding has the same attacks most puddings have. He does, however, have an interesting ability. He can divide. This ability is stunned, though. So all you have to do is wait for him to start using it and stun it. We're killing him pretty quick, though. Oh, there's the divide. But we kill him before we have to worry about it. Another sprite. I guess we're waiting for it to get closer. You can see more aetherite clouds, or aether clouds, coming down the stairs, and that's because there is a valve up top of the stairs that we need to shut off. Now, of course, the tank had decided to run all the way up there and grab both of them. The white mage managed to get over to the aether valve and turn it off, or was that the other monk? It was hard to tell. Regardless, that's turned off, so we can actually fight these guys without worry now. So, we can take down the first guy. I think we'll actually see him make an attempt to divide. So I'm going to stun it. And continue beating on him. That right there was, I believe, the white mage is doing. The white mages have a knockback ability, I think. So, hey, if an enemy's getting too close, I'll knock him back. I just want to say, I know you're probably doing it to not die, but that is the single most annoying thing that a white mage can do while anybody is trying to kill anything. Just giving you that heads up. Okay, after that, we come to a mini-boss. This is not a proper boss. He's really not that hard, actually. In fact, your strategy here is to burn him. You don't have to worry about attacks, you don't have to worry about dodging anything. You just beat on him until he dies. Shortly into the fight, a couple ads will spawn. Ignore them. Burn the boss. You could spend time wasting, you could waste time on these ads, but the boss dies fast enough that you could kill the boss and just force all of them to despawn before they're a threat at all. So there we go. Just kill the boss, and we're done. Now, with that said, we can finally make our way upstairs, where Siren herself waits. Now, of course, as soon as somebody goes into the arena, it triggers a cutscene. Now, the one thing people hate about this dungeon more than anything is Siren. Don't be afraid if you have to wipe once. Or twice. Or 3 times. Or 4 times. Can you two just stop arguing and figure out what the crap we're doing so we can fight this thing? I've come to the conclusion, after all of this, that this tank has no idea what to do, and he spends his time blaming the white mage and the DPS. So, that's pretty fantastic. Now, Siren has a number of attacks that aim forward. Not only does she have her regular attack, her regular attack is actually a cleave, so her regular attack is conal. Do not stand in front of her. If you really want to get in some extra DPS and you have a couple moves you need to do on her side, you can try to edge in on the side, but I would advise to just hang in back and beat on her from there. Now, over the course of the fight, she will summon at various adds. If a sergeant spawns, kill them priority 1. It is the DPS's job to handle these adds. The sergeant will move forward towards the mage, and if it grabs onto the mage simply can't do anything until it's killed. And this is the white mage's fight. Or I should say, the healer's fight. So, we are pretty much spending our time doing everything we can to make sure that the mage can do what the mage has to do. Not only do we need a lot of healing. By the way, Siren will fly up in the air every now and then. She'll do one of two things when she comes back down. She'll either come down in the middle, in which case you want to be in the middle to not get hit by that. A lot of her attacks are charming attacks and abilities that make you more susceptible to charm, which is a lot of what the mage is doing, is curing you of that crap throughout the fight. That was the one attack she can do, though. The other attacks fly on one of the corners of the room, and then churn across the room real quick. I'm yet to find a good way to dodge that, and to dodge both of them consistently. There are more adds. Now, she has an ability right there called Lunatic Voice. That ability puts a 50% healing debuff on everybody, so the mage cannot cure you very well. The tank should be stunning that, but our tank decided not to. So I am doing my absolute best to stun it, but it is very hard for the DPSs to stun that. You see, I did stun that one, so that's good. It's hard for the DPS to do it because we're dealing with adds more often than not. We very rarely even see that when that ability is being used. Especially for close range, where we're usually off in some corner or something. There's the dash. Still got hit by it. Sergeant over here that I saw, so I'm going to run over and kill that one real quick. Again, I am yet to find a good way to dodge her attack, because you absolutely want to be in the middle for the one attack, but you're given very little. There was Lunatic Voice again, which I was busy dealing with adds. I couldn't do anything about it. I didn't even know she was going to use it because I had an ad targeted. A Song of Torment, I believe, is her other ability that probably does something with charm and is another reason you want to not be in front of her. The tank takes most of that brunt work. Now, there's no way to tell where she's going to lunge from, so you don't know which way to run. Now, I do see the sergeant over there, and I'm intentionally ignoring him because I do not want to miss Lunatic Voice. I decided to go over and do it anyway. And now, I don't know where the tank's pointing this lady. Targeting Siren again because I'm fully anticipating another Lunatic Voice coming up. I'm trying my best to check it. I believe she does it shortly after that message comes up, so that's actually something I learned just watching this video. I was on the ball enough here, or I shouldn't say on the ball, I saw her soon enough to know which way to run. If you can see her, you can dodge that one. But that's not an easy thing to do. And thank heavens we managed that one. if I was the one who had to stun half of the lunatic voices. So, yeah. So I was doing the DPS job and half the tank's job. Go me. Don't need that. Heaven help me. Get me the crap out of here.